Hi YouTube. Sorry it's been so long. I've had family issues and just had to get my computer fixed as well. My graphics card decided to die, so it's been a while, I know, but I am now going to try and put videos up more often if I can, starting with this one, and it's the full review, which I promised I would do, of the Formula 1 season that we just had. Please, hope that you like it, and if you do, please subscribe. Okay, we're going to do the Formula 1 review, the year review, now that the Formula 1 season is finished. We'll go through the teams one by one, but first I'm going to give you a quick overview of my impression of this year, and at the very end I'll give you a rundown of what I hope I'll see next season in Formula 1. Well, this year, I would like to say that I've actually been very impressed with this year. The Formula 1 season has been very exciting. Happy that there was two teams and two different drivers fighting for the championship, which we haven't had over the last couple of seasons since this new hybrid era. There's still lots of rules that I think that need to be solved, but I'll talk about that at the end of this review. But yeah, we've had a lot of shocking results, some rookie drivers that have done really well. So yeah, I would say that this has been a very successful season for Formula 1. Right, we'll start with the champions of the last two seasons, Mercedes. This season they scored 668 points, very good tally. Helped them win the championship this season as well, with the constructors. Well, I don't really know what else to say. I mean, Lewis Hamilton, probably classed as the best driver on the grid at this moment, the fastest driver in particular. And his teammate Bottas, I think he's had a okay season with his first season in Mercedes. He got sort of thrown in at the deep end because obviously he thought he was going to be at Williams, and then Rosberg decided to retire after last season. Yeah, I just hope that next season, I think we'll see the real Bottas next season. We'll see if he can really give Lewis Hamilton a real challenge as a teammate, and for the Drivers' Championship. I hope he does, because I do rate Bottas. I think he's a really good driver. I think this year Lewis has had his rival with Vettel, which I'll talk about in a bit. I think he's matured. I think he's shown that he is a very fast and capable driver, and it's been a decent season for them. They've had their ups and downs like every team, but they've always managed to go with damage limitation when something does go wrong. So yeah, so they are worthy champions. Okay, the closest team to them, Ferrari. Now this season they have came out all guns blazing, and they really showed that as speed goes, they are on par with Mercedes, sometimes even being faster than the Mercedes car. I think the lineup of Vettel and Raikkonen is a very strong one, with the fact that obviously you get 522 points on the races, and that's impressive. Not as good as Mercedes, but still impressive nonetheless, considering over the last couple of seasons they've been really out of it. The one thing I will say is that I do believe that they do have a number one and number two driver, which not many teams do now, and I'm sorry to say Vettel will always be the number one, and Raikkonen unfortunately will be number two. But if he's happy playing that role, then he's happy playing that role. I have lost quite a lot of respect for Vettel after he decided in Baku that to run up the back of Lewis Hamilton in that race, and then run into the side of Lewis Hamilton because he thought that Hamilton brake tested him, which wasn't the case at all. I think the punishment for Vettel was very light. I think he should have been punished more severely. but you can't discount Vettel as a driver. This year he's shown, even if he is at the back of the grid, he can race, he can like overtake, which is always good to see. Raikkonen, he's had a bit of a stuttery season, I would say. He's had really good races and then he's had really one bad one that either he hasn't finished or he's had a bit bad result, whatever the reason might be. So next season, I hope Raikkonen will be a bit more competitive, but I just don't see that happening. I think Vettel will lead that team again next season, and he'll be the main person to challenge the Mercedes. Okay, now we got on to the best of the rest, as they said in the back of the paddock this season, and that was Red Bull Racing. Now, in my opinion, they have got the most exciting most exciting driver in the line that you can have with Daniel Ricciardo and Max Verstappen. They've both won a couple of races. I think Daniel's won one this season, and I think Max has won two, maybe one himself, or maybe one. Yeah, for the first half of the season, they were basically left just to basically make sure that they can, got 5th and 6th in the majority of the races, behind Ferrari and Mercedes. But in the last part of the season, they came out and they shown that they can fight with them, which is good. And I hope to see that next season as well, that they come out and. I think Max and Daniel Ricciardo have shown that they can win races and that they can obviously race against the big boys when they've got the car to do so. So I'm hoping that I see that next season, and I hope that I tip that Max Verstappen will be a world champion one day. Not sure if it will be next season. We'll have to wait and see how he progresses over the summer. He had a bit of a difficult start to the season with his car. His reliability kept letting him. The reliability of the car kept letting him down. But he stuck with it, and he got his just rewards at the end of the season by winning a race. So, and I hope that Daniel Ricciardo and him can have a really strong season next season. Okay, in my opinion, the most surprise package of the season, which will be Force India. Now, the reason why I say that they are the surprise package of the season, in my opinion, is just the fact that they have got such a small budget to build their car and get it working. And this season they have done absolutely brilliantly. They secured 4th position. A long time before into the season, so they were pretty much guaranteed 4th. And their two drivers, Perez and Ocon, have been absolutely stellar this season. Ocon has been very consistent. I think he only did not finish one race, and in every race he scored points. Perez has his moments. Them two have come together on occasion, so obviously that's caused for concern with the team. But I'm happy that the team lets them race. I mean, I'd rather teammates race each other rather than just say, right, that guy's ahead of you, so make sure that that he finishes ahead of you, sort of attitude, because I think that's wrong. But yeah, I'm very impressed by them. And I think Perez, I think he is up for a new bigger team, maybe in the next year or two, depending what happens at Ferrari, Mercedes, Red Bull. And I think Ocon is probably ready as well, and I think both of them could win a world championship. I'm pretty sure Ocon will probably win a world championship if he keeps racing and keeps doing the way keep going the way he's doing. So I have to wait and see. Okay, the teams that are going to be slightly disappointed now, I think we're going to talk about, and the first one is Williams, only getting 83 points this season. Bit of a disappointment for them, I would say. They have had some good highlights. Their new driver, Lance Stroll, I think he is an incredible talent. Cannot wait to see him evolve and you know, grow into that team, so to speak. I think he's done that very well this season. He got that third in Baku. I think he should have left. I think Bottas should have let him have that second place, but he didn't. So he got third. But it was a very mature drive from the youngster, and since then he just seems to get better and better as the races have gone along. Massa, one of these drivers that's hit or miss again. Unfortunately, this season, being brought in so late, being brought in right at the just before the season was going to start because of they lost Bottas to Mercedes. I think he just didn't really. He just hasn't really fitted in with the team as well as he would hope, and he couldn't really do all of his training that he would have liked to have done, and his fitness and everything. So I think it was a bit of a rough season for him. But next season it'll be very interesting to see who joins Williams now that Massa has retired, to be with Lance Stroll. Looking forward to finding out. Okay, the Renault Works team. Now, the Renault Works team, I don't actually have anything really to add to the fact that they've got 57 points and they've done very decently this season. I think what they did end of the year by swapping their drivers round and bringing in Sanchez, who was a Toro Rosso, and actually putting him in the car, even though he'd signed for the team, but he wasn't supposed. I didn't think he was supposed to be in the team until next season. Dropping Palmer, messing around with the drivers, changing the drivers. I think that is wrong personally, but I'll discuss that at the end of the review. But Renault, I think they've had a decent season. Again, they've sort of a team that's sort of like grown and got better as the season's gone along. I just hope that next season, with them supplying engines to obviously Red Bull and McLaren next season, I hope that if they can get a decent engine working, and if they can get a decent package, I think they can be a serious threat to the top four. I don't think they'll get to the top two. I think Ferrari and Mercedes are probably a bit too far ahead, but they can hopefully challenge Williams, Force India, and maybe Red Bull, depending on how Red Bull do next season. Like I said, I do think that they shouldn't change drivers, but I'll have my moan about that at the end of the video. Okay, Toro Rosso. Now, the team of Toro Rosso, don't have a problem with them. I think they've done fairly decently, considering they've got a year-old engine. I think they've outperformed their car slightly in some races. They sort of were decent at the beginning, and they've sort of faded as the season's gone along. But with a team that's got such a small budget, you can understand why that's happened. The drivers, Sanchez, really liked him, and I still do think he's a decent driver. He's very good at looking after the car. Just don't think he should have gone to Renault and finished the last two races there. I think that was a wrong decision. And since then, Toro Rosso have swapped their drivers around as well, to bring in new guys that they want to possibly sign for next season. I think most of the driver movement at the end of the season was to find drivers to fill the gaps, to be quite honest. I think that is, to give drivers some experience, the young ones that are coming up, which isn't a bad thing in that respect. But like I said, I'll have my moan about that at the end of the year. It's the end of this video. Okay, I think the team that's the most disappointed through this season is probably the Haas team, the American-based team with basically everything in it that's made by Ferrari. I think they've had a really bad season. I think they just haven't been on the pace at all this season. The car doesn't seem to be wanting to work. Grosjean and Magnussen have found it very, very difficult this season to get anything out of the car and get it up near the point where they need to be consistently if they're going to challenge. I think they had a very good season last season, and I think this season they just haven't performed anywhere near the standard that we were expecting. I think we were expecting them to be near the top again, and they just haven't been. So I think as a whole that team is going to be extremely disappointed, and there's going to be a lot of head scratching going on there about how their car didn't perform and how they can make their car next year perform the way that that they expect it to. Grosjean, I think he's a good driver. I think he's just a bit too much of a risk taker, which gets him into trouble a lot. Him and Magnussen have both ran into other people. Grosjean ran into more people, obviously, which has cost him points, which hasn't helped. But they can become a decent team, and I think Grosjean can become a better driver. He just needs to not take as many risks. That's my opinion. Okay, McLaren Honda. Now, at the beginning of the season, God almighty, how bad were they? Their car, I think in the first couple of races they hardly finished a race. Their engine just wasn't good enough at all. It was really slow. But as the season got on, they got slightly better and better. I still think they have one of the better lineups of the grid, with Alonso, probably the best racing driver that's on the grid, and the new guy, the rookie. I think he's done really well this season. He's matched Alonso numerous times during the season in qualifying and the racing. I think he's got a bright future. I am looking forward to next season with McLaren. They've got rid of Honda, which is probably a good decision on their part, and they're going for a Renault engine next season. And if they can get the chassis working, which they always seem to, and the Renault engine is decent, I reckon they could really be back up at the top, which is where they need to be. McLaren haven't been at the top now for a long couple of seasons, and they need to get back up to the top where they deserve to be and need to be. Okay, and last but not least, the Sauber team. Now, what can you say? 5 points. That's all they managed this season, and that's pretty dismal considering. But they've been at pretty much the back of the grid every single race. They've had very little luck in respect of anything that they've really done. The car is just not good enough. The drivers who they've changed through the season still, like I said, I'm going to have a moan about that in a bit. They've just had a really torrid season, to be quite honest, and I just hope that next season they can actually just be a bit more competitive. In qualifying they were nowhere, in the race they weren't much better. I just feel sorry for their drivers because their drivers haven't been able to show the driving ability that they've got, because they just haven't had a car that's good enough, to be honest. Not really much else you can say about it, really, apart from it just needs to. I just hope that next season it really improves and that they can become a better package next season. Okay, next season, what I would like to see. I would like to see more than just 2 teams fighting for the championship. I'd like to see Mercedes and Ferrari fighting out again if we only get that. But I'd also like to see Red Bull, McLaren, if they get a decent engine. I'd like to see them up there fighting with each other. I'd like to see Bottas next season become more of a threat to Lewis Hamilton and giving Lewis Hamilton a run for his money. I think that I'd like to see Lewis Hamilton challenged by his teammate Bottas next season. I'd also like to see the #1 driver thing scrapped at Ferrari, and I'd like to see Raikkonen given a chance to actually fight for Vettel and fight fight the Mercedes, because this season I think he's been held back, to be honest, and I think but I think if I was Ferrari, I would give Raikkonen this season, and then drop him this season. I think he's probably past his best now, actually, to be honest, and they need to sort of move on and bring in a newer, younger driver who can take that car forward, and maybe give Vettel a real good run for his money. Like I said, I'd like to see Red Bull up there with McLaren. I'd also like to see some of the rules change. And the one rule that I hate, and I think everybody hates this rule, is the stupid things that they keep putting on the engines. Okay, fair enough. Engines, we've got to make sure that they've got to last. 6 of them have got to last through the year to save money, which is fine enough. But when people get changed, when people change pieces on the car, and then they get fined 5 places, and then they go, well, in that case we'll just change everything on the car, and then they get given 100 change 100 places. I think that should be completely scrapped. I think it's a pathetic rule, and I think they should get rid of it. The other rule I'd like to see, or something I'd like the tyre company Pirelli to do, is give the tyres more life, give the tyres a better durability. I'd like to see races where we don't hear on the team radio, can we save fuel? Can you look after the tyres? Because that's not racing. That's going around the track. That's not racing. We want to see drivers that can attack every single lap, can attack. That's what we like to see. That's what people like to watch. And that goes with the fuel as well. I'd like to be able to see them fueled up a little bit more. Maybe bring refueling back in a sort of way to make it more interesting, make the strategy a bit more interesting as well. I'd like to see a bit more strategy game, because it's very samey during the season. But going back to the positives, I was really happy with this season. Had some really good races. Baku, probably the highlight of the season. If you haven't seen it, find the highlights or find the actual race, because it was an absolute brilliant Grand Prix from start to finish. Yeah, and I hope that next season is just as enjoyable and as exciting. So, okay, I'd like to thank you for watching my review on the Formula 1 season of 2017. I'll put, if you look in the corner, you'll see that there's a link to what I thought halfway through the season. So please watch that if you're interested. Please subscribe to my channel, and look out for future videos.